There is so much interest in narcissism in recent years that people can't help but wonder why that is. It seems like we keep hearing about more and more narcissism in our culture, but what is causing that trend? Is there a difference in parenting styles that is creating more narcissists? What role does genetics play? How about culture? Is that a factor, and does the type of narcissism and gender of the narcissist make a difference? While you might be thinking that abusive parents can cause narcissism, there are actually several different parenting styles that can result in this personality disorder. You might find some of them surprising. Let's take a look. Overparenting or overprotection is one parenting style associated with NPD. It might be obvious to understand how an abusive environment could cause narcissism, but in fact, parents who are too overprotective can also create a narcissistic child. In fact, researchers at the University of Wollongong in Australia found overprotection and overparenting, commonly known as helicopter parents, to be higher risk factors for narcissism than even mistreatment. The mechanism at work here is that such overparenting and overprotection interferes with the ability of a child to learn lessons from their experiences that would normally act to correct a grandiose view of the self. The children of such parents are not allowed to try and fail and learn to try again. Instead, their parents, likely with good intentions, want to make them feel valued by preventing painful experiences. Many parents don't want their children to make the same mistakes they did, so they don't let their children try things for themselves or pick up the pieces when the child fails, which prevents them from learning how to overcome failure. It also has the effect of making them more reliant on guidance and feedback from other people. They find it difficult to make decisions for themselves because they have never really been allowed to do so. Instead, they constantly seek the feedback of others to validate their own ideas. This prevents them from learning to be autonomous individuals, which is an important development stage that occurs early in life. Spoiling a child can cause narcissism. Another parenting style that the researchers in the Australian study found to be associated with the development of narcissism is spoiling a child. The child of parents who spoil them never learn to appreciate what they have, nor do they learn how to try and fail and try again to get what they want in life. Instead, they get a message of entitlement. They learn that things will be given to them when they want them, and that teaches them that they should never have to try or work for what they want. Effectively, they never learn to rely on the self to meet their own needs. They look outward for validation from other people, and they come to expect that other people will cater to them as they desire. Another friend of mine had an experience with this in her own childhood. When she was 8 years old and her sister was 1 year old, their older brother was in a terrible accident. At the same time, their grandfather fell ill with a terminal disease. The result was that their parents were focused on the older brother and their grandfather over the course of the next several years of their lives. The parents felt bad about being unable to give them a normal childhood, particularly the younger sister. They felt my friend was old enough to understand the situation, but the younger child was not. Lack of warmth is a type of trauma associated with narcissism. Parenting styles in which one or both parents are indifferent or cold to the child have been found to hamper the development of an adaptive self-view. Typically, as children grow, they are very narcissistic because their early life is normally composed of expressing needs to their parents and getting those needs met, in healthy families anyway. As the child gets older, they begin to both try things and fail, and they begin to learn their place in the world. That usually causes their grandiose self-image to be replaced with a more realistic self-concept. They learn there are other people in the world with needs too, and they must be considerate of those other people. When a child doesn't get that because of a cold parent who doesn't mirror loving emotions, it interferes with the normal developmental process. Too much mirroring can also be problematic in that it can serve to reinforce those grandiose ideas. Basically, healthy parents allow their children to learn from their experiences, which results in a realistic self-image. Cold, aloof parents or overly protective parents prevent the child from doing that, and it's possible for narcissism to be the result. Leniency can create NPD. Leniency can also create a problem for the normal development of a child's self-image. When parents are overly lenient with their children, the child doesn't learn from their mistakes. As a result, they don't self-correct. They can also develop a sense of entitlement if their parents are overly lenient. This is particularly true if the parenting style involves a combination of overvaluation and leniency. In that instance, the child is told how special they are, and they never have to face any real consequences for their failures. This also illustrates how combinations of parenting styles can produce narcissism. It may not be just one type of parenting style that causes the problem. It goes to show how complicated narcissistic personality disorder really is, and that is an important factor when considering possible treatments. Overvaluation and the golden child are other toxic parenting styles. It is typical of narcissistic parents to choose a golden child. This is the child upon whom they dote. They praise them and continually tell them that they are part of a special family. They discourage them from doing anything on their own by telling them that there are other people who should do those things for them. They prevent the child from experiencing and taking chances in life, all while telling them how special they are. As a result, the child develops an entitled attitude, as well as a grandiose self-image. Despite that, however, they come to see themselves as flawed. They secretly fear that's why their parents won't let them do anything for themselves, because they can't. This, in combination with the feeling that they can't do anything, fills them with shame and self-loathing, in the same way that their narcissistic parents were when they were young. It's also possible for this to happen even if the parents are not themselves narcissists. Any parenting style that involves the overvaluation of a child in combination with overprotective parenting can produce a narcissist. As the child grows, the world shows them just how incapable they are, and it also teaches them, sometimes in very harsh terms, that they are not, in fact, special. The parents who are treating their child as special individuals who shouldn't have to do anything for themselves are not doing that child any favors. Childhood maltreatment is associated with grandiose narcissism. Childhood abuse is another parenting style that produces narcissistic personality disorder in some children. Despite all appearances to the contrary, narcissists are full of shame and self-loathing. At some point in their childhood, they came to believe they were hopelessly flawed. They felt their true self was worthless, so they buried it deep inside and created a better self with which to interact with the world. This is their false self-image, but it lacks the substantive nature of a true ego, and thus it can't prop up the child's identity. That's why the narcissist needs to manipulate and control other people, so they can get the almost constant flow of adoration they require to feel good about themselves. When parents are constantly abusing their child, either physically or emotionally, they cause that child to see themselves as worthless and flawed. The development of this false self is essentially a coping mechanism for that kind of mistreatment. It's how they push back against the feeling that they are flawed, the feeling that their abusive parents have instilled in them. The researchers in Australia mentioned previously found that childhood maltreatment was particularly associated with vulnerable narcissism as opposed to grandiose narcissism, though they note that other studies found different results. In the end, parenting styles can definitely affect the development of narcissistic personality disorder. Children need to be allowed to experiment and fail, as well as succeed. When they are not allowed to do so, either because of mistreatment or overprotection, it can interfere with their normal psychosocial development. They become emotionally wounded, and narcissism becomes a kind of defense mechanism they use to cope with that wounding. You can help a child understand, recognize, and heal their emotional wounds by working with them on their emotional triggers. My 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers can help with that. It's a free guide that helps you recognize, diffuse, and even heal emotional triggers and the original wounds that caused them. It can help a child who might be showing signs of narcissistic personality disorder, and it will definitely help someone being abused by a narcissist. To receive a free copy directly to your inbox, simply click on the link below this video. Thanks for watching.